Nick Buckley is a friend to this channel. He ran for Mayor of Manchester. I think we are going to concede at this time, Nick, that you did struggle to get traction in the end.
I'm not too sure. There was a poll out a few days ago that had me third place, me beating the Tories, the Lib Dems and the Greens.
Wow.
And
don't
only
destroy his hopes.
Yeah.
Very hurtful. Sorry about that. You might have won.
Is that and only 2 points away from second place?
So they were saying that that Burnham was in pole position. Who's second?
That was Reform UK.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You, I mean, I have to say, look, you know, if I was still a voter in Greater Manchester, I'd have voted for you simply because I think you were the only serious candidate. I don't think Andy Burnham has been particularly serious as Mayor of Greater Manchester. He's just been obsessed. Let's have the maximum lockdown and send the bill to London. You know,
he's got the brand. People know him. He's already had the job a while. You know, the better the devil you don't. Is it a surprise though that Reform might have come second in this?
I don't think Reform. I'm aiming for second place. I think I've got second place.
Really? That would be. Hey, I'll tell you something, Nick. If you do that, that will be a phenomenal achievement with no party organisation, and would put you in pole position, presumably, to win it next time.
Oh, absolutely. And there's going to be another mayor election, I'm being told, in a year's time. I'm being told Andy Burnham will resign in about a year's time because Labour will be in power. He wants to be an MP. He wants to get to Parliament. He wants to be Prime Minister. So there could be a
by-election. What he will hope is he will hope a member of Parliament in the North, in Greater Manchester, stands down in his favour. I've
already been told that deal's been done.
Who are we suspecting?
I've been told he's done a deal with Graham Stringer, who's a North Manchester MP.
I must admit, Graham Stringer is the name that is always mentioned because him and Stringer are old mates. Stringer's the former leader of Manchester City Council. He is really getting on now. I think he came in '97, didn't he, Stringer?
I can't remember.
And he wasn't a young man then, to be absolutely honest. But look, tell us a little bit about the campaign and what's been going on, because obviously it's not that we're not allowed to talk about elections on this channel. We can, but the big problem is if we interview one candidate during the election, we've got to interview every candidate, and it becomes quite torturous to do it. So we've not been able to talk to you properly. So why don't you tell us about the campaign and kind of your tasting points for what's happened?
Well, let me put this quandary to you then, because what you've just repeated then is Ofcom rules.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, there was 6 candidates standing in Greater Manchester. 6. I was the only independent.
Yeah.
The BBC had their debate and only invited 5 candidates.
Wow.
and told me an independent's not a proper candidate. Same with the Manchester Evening News. Same with most of the hustings. I was invited.
Isn't that illegal though, or are they allowed to do that?
They are allowed to not interview minority candidates. But I mean, if
he's come second, he's not a minority.
If you've come second, then I don't know what the rules would be. But if there is any suggestion that the BBC keeping you out of a televised debate cost you the election, then I think they would be in significant trouble, at least morally, if not legally.
Well, they are in power.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to look at that depending where I come. But how's the campaign been? The campaign's been fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The last 6 weeks has really taken off. I've been so busy, social media, going down Greater Manchester. The amount of support I got is even
presumably you didn't have like leafleters and canvassers, or at least not the hundreds of them that the other parties had.
No. When I say this was a one-man band show, this is a one-man band show. I funded it myself. I've done most of my campaigning online. I've had no leaflets. I paid £5,000 to go in the mayor's booklet, which gets delivered to every household. So that was basically my leaflet.
But you have the highest profile, apart from, the actual mayor, Burnham. You've probably got the highest profile, if not maybe more than Burnham, across Manchester and the people of Manchester.
I've got to be honest with you, Asher, it's a bit embarrassing for me being from Greater Manchester and having been, a young Conservative chairman in Greater Manchester. I don't know who the Conservative candidate is.
Yeah. And that's the problem with all those political parties.
Who is it?
He doesn't even know himself.
It's a nice lady called Laura Evans. She stood 3 years ago as well. The Tory vote in Greater Manchester seems to have collapsed completely.
Yes. Why is that? Is that because you were more credible, or is it because the Red Wall have just walked away from Rishi Sunak?
Yeah, nothing to do with me, nothing to do with the candidate. The Tory brand now it is gone. It's
But
gone
Manchester's always been very left, hasn't it?
Oh, it's a red city.
Yeah.
But I think according to the poll a couple of days ago, they won 20% at the last election. They're now on 9%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's astonishing. What upsets me is that I think there was a real opportunity for the Conservatives in 2019. You know, my own home constituency of Lee, James Grundy, good guy, local campaigner. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea to have a local campaigner rather than someone who's going to be in the cabinet, but that's who it was. You know, he did phenomenally well. And much as I love him to bits, I don't see him retaining Lee at the next election.
No, I think any Tory will find it really hard to retain their seat. I mean, let's be honest. Last week we had a Tory MP jump ship to Labour.
Yeah.
Why? He's just trying to keep his seat.
Well, of course, because they've totally failed. Are you going to stand again in the next mayoral election? And what about the general election? Will you be in that?
I've not. So my easy answer is this is long term for me. So This isn't a sprint; it's a marathon. Yeah. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off now. I'm going to come up with a plan. Is it the general election this year? I don't know. Will it be the mayor election in 12 months? It's going to be probably one of them or both of them. I don't know. I need to give it some thought about how do I do this, because I just don't want to parachute into an MP area that I've got no connection to unless the grassroots people have invited me to stand for them.
Yeah, but that depends, because what may happen, what may be the sensible thing, is to run in the by-election against Burnham just in order to raise your profile and then run in the mayoral campaign after that. Because I think you're right. I think that if you have beaten both the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, and indeed the Greens in Manchester are worth beating as well, to be fair, I mean, you are going to be somebody who will be a seriously credible candidate next time, because part of your problem will have been a crisis of confidence. Whereas if the Conservative poll 9% and you come second or third, then actually I think that what would happen is next time many Conservative voters would want to coalesce around you. And I think it's probably the same with the Lib Dems, if I'm being totally honest, because I don't think Lib Dems in Manchester are the massive lefties that they perhaps are in other parts of the country.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I've also been targeting a different cohort as well, because 2/3 of people in Greater Manchester don't even vote at the local elections, and I've been targeting them. I've been trying to say to people, here's an opportunity for you to have your say. I've answered thousands of questions. I've done live events, even live events online. Ask me anything you want. The amount of people I've given an answer to who I know are not going to vote for me now, because I made a decision straight away. I'm going to be blunt, to the point and honest. So I've given lots of people the answer they didn't want off me, and now they know not to vote for me. But I've approached this very differently. So I've been attracting votes from everywhere. I've even got Labour voters telling me...
What answers didn't they like? What are you talking about? What are the things they didn't like?
It was regarding his criminal record. No, I'm joking.
No, they like that bit in Manchester.
Some of them were obvious, such as I've had loads of questions about the Free Palestine issue.
Oh, yeah.
And my answer was simple, was I don't care about foreign people in foreign countries on foreign continents. Yeah. I worry about this country and the people who live here. That's my answer to that.
Well, hang on. What would be your answer to the protection of academic freedoms on campus? Because Manchester, Greater Manchester, is an enormous university city. You've now even got the University of Bolton, God bless it, within the city. So my argument would be, I'm quite happy with the Israeli Defence Force getting on with what they're doing. My own preference would be to not have a terrorist government in Gaza, though I think that's what's going to happen anyway. But I am concerned about protecting freedom of students. And it has to be said, Manchester University is notorious for the race wars that have taken place in the past.
Yeah. So I announced a policy a year ago that if mayor, I'm going to create a free speech charter for Greater Manchester.
Oh, wow.
Based on existing law. You know, we're going to commission some top barristers in the Free Speech Union, and they'll come up with a free speech charter. And it's going to be a tool that people can use to ensure they understand their rights, they understand what they can say, what they can't say. And a good example would be, you're on a march or a demonstration. I have no intentions of banning demonstrations, but if the police say to you, you can't shout that, You can go, wait a minute, officer, have a look at the mayor's website, front page, he's your boss. And it says on there I can shout these things. So you need to educate yourself, officer.
Yeah.
So, because many of things...
But of course, conversely, there will be things that will be hate speech, which are now very clearly set out.
Yep, and they, if even though I don't agree with that, if it's in the law, then that will be in the charter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, look, I know we've kind of touched on this already, but I think it's worth asking, what does the next couple of years hold for you, assuming you're not elected as Mayor of Greater Manchester? And I think what you've said, I think pretty clearly, is that third is good and second is fantastic, and you look competitive for both of those. So what's the battle plan? Presumably it is working towards that mayoral by-election, which we do expect to be relatively soon.
Yeah, and also I need to attract backers and funders. That I missed out on that. I missed out on not having a war chest, not being able to buy advertisements, not being able to fund things. What I also need to do is keep this momentum going. So I can't disappear off the internet. I can't disappear from all the followers I've got, all the people who support me. I'm going to carry on at a lesser level, but I'm going to carry on campaigning. Yeah. And then whenever the general election, the by-election, the mayor election, whenever that comes along, my campaign is already 3 steps ahead of everybody else. And I think if I do well on this, there'll be many people across Greater Manchester who will then go, oh, who is that Nick Buckley? I didn't vote for him, but now I've heard about him. Well, I didn't vote for him.
I have to say one thing. If there's a fundraiser, you know, I'll happily speak in it and travel up to Manchester to assist you, because I think the reality is,
for a small fee,
with a lot of these donors and with a lot of the people that would attend fundraising dinners, you know, they won't have done it before because you weren't credible before. But it sounds like this result tonight is going to assist you significantly in that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I hope. I hope that if I can get a good result, let's say I come second, that people go, right, there's a horse I want to put some money on. There's someone we need to get behind. There's someone who needs some help and support. And all I want out of this is to improve my country. There's people out there who want to do that, but it's hard to sell an idea when there's nothing to look at. And that's what I was a year ago. If I do well here, they can go, look at that one-man band, that nobody. He almost got there. He'll get there with some help and support.
What if he offers you a job, you know, the Mayor of Manchester, gets you on board on his side? Would you take it?
If he offered me a job around rough sleeping, then I would take that, because I want to solve rough sleeping.
Right.
And I would be very honourable. I wouldn't backstab him, because all I want is to improve my country. So if I had an opportunity to solve rough sleeping, because I've got a plan, I can solve it in 1 year in Greater Manchester.
Wow.
And if he wants me to do that, I would do that, because it's not about me. It's about our fellow citizens living and dying.
What about Manchester United? For, you know, the Ryan Giggs, wasn't there? And there was Neville. Wouldn't they sponsor you, because they're all into that sort of thing with their hotels and...
They're all champagne socialists, so they're all multi-millionaires building mansions and skyscrapers, drinking champagne, going. But I'm a working class lad. You've never been a working class lad, Gary Neville. You're just a multi-millionaire using Arabs' money.
He probably used to be, but
yeah.
He can't even remember it, can he? He can't remember.
No, exactly. I mean, these people are good role models, because to get to the level Gary Neville got,
I wouldn't want him as a role model, Giggsy. The way.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't leave my wife in a room with him.
I mean, great player, but
yeah, exactly. And that's all they are. That's all these celebrities are. They're good at one thing. It doesn't mean they know anything about anything else.
No, that's absolutely right.
Bang on.
Okay, well, Nick, we've missed you on the channel. Obviously, we weren't able to broadcast you during the election. Mind you, the BBC probably should have, and they didn't bother either. We will watch the election results. When are we expecting the results of the Greater Manchester mayoralty?
They reckon about 3 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
So they're only going to start counting
at kick-off.
On Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a fun Friday for you. Okay, Nick Buckley, who is a independent candidate for Mayor of Greater Manchester, and you heard it here first. He thinks potentially he might have come second or third, which would be a phenomenal achievement for somebody in his position, with no budget, with no party organisation, and with no campaign workers.
If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.